painting to photography, from beadwork to woodworking. KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University presents Art Beat. Art Beat highlights the work and accomplishments of local artists from in and around Winona. Support for Art Beat is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Everyone has a story to tell, but not everyone knows how to tell that story. From love to pain to joy and sorrow, human emotion in stories generates a great feeling in the heart, good or bad, funny or sad. Charismatic and well-spoken, Diane Ferlette from New Orleans will be joining us on Art Beat this week with her profound storytelling abilities that make you feel a part of the story. She recently performed at Sandbar Storytelling at St. Mary's University in Minnesota. I'm Vitchus Heron with Diane Ferlette on Art Beat.
Accompanied by the musical talents of Eric Pearson, she is more than just a storyteller. She is a keeper of traditions and history. Please put your hands together for Diane Ferlette.
My name is Diane Ferlette.
And how long have you been a professional storyteller?
Almost 40 years for a living.
Awesome. What's been your favorite part, your favorite moment within your history of being a storyteller?
I think maybe when people come up to me afterwards and tell me how the story touched them, or how I made them think, or they really enjoyed what I did, and they never thought about storytelling per se, but they really enjoyed, what they heard, and I try to encourage them to tell their stories too. But I mainly enjoy the connection when people come up to me and they mention how they, stories touched them and how it made them feel.
Can you hear me? Yes. All right. Stage 4 colon cancer in 2011. But I'm still here. When I heard the word cancer, I thought, this is it. I'm going to meet my maker. Well, but you never know, do you? But one thing about chemotherapy, every time I went to chemotherapy, there was always somebody with me. Can you believe that? I was on chemotherapy 10 years, non-stop. Somebody was always with me. If my husband went every time, but if somebody else came, he would leave and go do errands and come back and pick me up. But I never went by myself. That's something for 10 years. And one time, one of my play daughters, I call her my play daughter, because her mother died. Same diagnosis, stage 4 colon cancer. 6 months later, she was gone. Why am I still here? I don't know. Her mother lived in Florida. She was in California with me. I said, well, since your mother's not here, I'm the mom. She became my play daughter. So she came to chemo with me that day. And when she came, we always play cards. We playing cards. I like laughter. We were playing. She was trying to cheat. Playing cards, and I always bring a folklore book. I'm a storyteller looking for another story. So she was reading folklore to me. In the middle of the story she was reading, I said, I forgot where I was. And I looked across the room, and I saw another woman getting her chemotherapy. oh, honey, hope I didn't disturb you. I think I laughed a little too loud. I said, I didn't want to disturb you. She said, oh, no, you didn't disturb me. And I enjoyed hearing the laughter and watching you play cards. And I was listening to those stories she was reading too. I said, okay, I just didn't want to disturb you. And then I saw she had a scarf on. I said, you lost some of your hair, huh? She said, yeah, I lost a lot of my hair. I said, me too. I only have 3 pubic. Oh, that's too much.
Well, first of all, if you're going to be a storyteller on your own, you have to have stories to tell. And most times when I ask people to tell me a story, or they say, I don't have any stories. That's the main thing they say. We all have stories. We are our stories. It's just a lot of people just don't have the will or the gift to even share them. But I think when they are around a comfortable crowd, around their own families or a friend, they tell them. You know, because I tell stories all the time before I even became professional. I did it to my friends. And when you sit around eating and visiting, you always tell stories about what happened. Girl, you won't believe this. You know, one time my mother came home, you just start telling stories. You know, it's like a conversation, but you're telling what happened to you and what you thought and how they made you mad. You know, and something happens at work, you tell the story. I expected to get my check on Friday. He said he cut my check because I did this. Stories are everywhere. It's who we are and how our life is lived. Those are the stories.
And that made her laugh, right? And then when she laughed, I said, can I tell you a story? It was a long pause. And then she said, sure. This is what I told her. One morning, a woman woke up. The sun was shining. She said, why am I still in bed? Let me get up and enjoy this day. So she got up, went to the bathroom, turned the light on, looked in the mirror. She only had 3 hairs left on her head. Oh boy. Well, I could make me a braid. Took those 3 hairs, left over right, made a little braid. That's not bad. And she went on out to do her errands, went to the grocery store, you know, went to the banking. But when she was walking back to her car, she did notice people looking at her, pointing, you know, whispering. But she didn't pay them any mind. But about 3 weeks later, the birds woke her up. I'm still in bed, and they get up from here and enjoy the day. And she got up, went to the bathroom, turned the light on, 2 hairs on her head. Well, I can make me a part. She put 1 hair on this, I put 1 hair on the other. That's not bad. And she went out and did some shopping for her friend who was sick. Went to visit her friend, did a few errands, you know. But she did see people whispering, looking at her funny. Didn't pay her no mind. But it was just about a week later. And when she got up into the bathroom, turned the light on, ew, 1 little hair on her head. Well, I knew this was coming. Well, could make me a ponytail. Got a little red ribbon, tied a little little hair was going like this. And she went out and went to church. Oh, she had a wonderful time. The preacher outdid himself that Sunday. Yes, amen. That little ponytail just going. And she was singing with the choir. But then she noticed church members looking at her funny, pointing, whispering. She didn't pay her no mind. And why don't sing it with the choir? Well, 2 days later, you know, she went in the bathroom, turned the light on, looked in the mirror. Not 1 hair on her head. Well, at least I don't have to worry about how to fix my hair today. And she went out and had a is everything. Attitude is everything. She went out and had a wonderful day. This is the beginning of a very good day. I got a feeling things are going my way. I got a smile, about a half a mile. I'm inviting happiness to come in today. I'm inviting joy to come in today. I'm inviting peace to come in today. True story. They say when you're poor, it doesn't take much. It doesn't take much for the whole bottom to just fall out. Well, that's what happened to this poor farmer. This poor farmer working hard too. He lost his crops 3 years in a row. Things got so bad, couldn't even feed his family. So he decided to send his wife and daughter to his wife's mother's house to stay, while he went to the city to find a job. Now, if you're a farmer, what kind of job can you find in the big city? He took a job as a street sweeper. And most people in the city won't even take those kind of jobs. He figured he would work hard enough, he could make enough money to go home. And so he worked long, hard hours, trying to make some money. And as he worked, making a little money, he got a little nervous, having money on him. He figured somebody might, steal it. A thief might come and rob him. So he decided to go and ask a jeweler in town to keep his money for safekeeping. This man would hire him every now and then to sweep in front of his shop. He said, a man that rich had to be trustworthy, right? Right. And so he went to the jeweler and he asked him, would he keep his money for safekeeping because he was nervous about keeping it on him? And the jeweler said, oh, but of course, no problem. I will keep the money safe. I will put it in my safe in the back. You want the money? You come and get it, no problem. Well, 5 years. At the end of every month, he would bring his little pennies to the jeweler for safekeeping. Every month, bring the money. 5 years went by, and he figured he had enough money, not a lot, but enough money to go home, right? And he went to the jeweler to get his money. He walked in and said, good morning. Now, I've been working for 5 years, and I think I saved enough money to go home, and I came here to collect my money. And the jeweler looked at him and said, my good man, what are you talking about? I've never seen you before in my life. What? What do you mean? You've known me 5 years. Every month I bring you my money for safekeeping. What do you mean you don't know me? He said, I came here for my money. He said, do you have a witness of this transaction? If you don't have a leg to stand on. So leave my shop. I'm busy. No, I can't leave my money. 5 years. You owe me my money. I came to get my money. God knows what you did with your money. And you come here asking me. He says, please, before I call the police, leave. No, I can't leave. I can't. You have my money, please. 5 years, please. Okay. He pushed the button, the jeweler, and 2 huge men came from the back, grabbed the street sweeper, and threw him out in the street. And stay out. And there was the street sweeper in the street, tears streaming down his face. 5 years. 5 years. And he sat there on the sidewalk on the street. A carriage came by. Sound effects for you guys. In the carriage was a woman and her young daughter. And the girl said, Mama, why is that man crying? She said, shh, honey, he probably doesn't want you to know why he's crying. Don't worry. But Mama, you always said, when people are sad, we're supposed to try and help them. From the mouths of babes, huh? She stopped the carriage. They got out. And she walked over to the street sweeper. She said, excuse me, sir. I don't want to bother or interrupt you, but my daughter was curious about why you were crying. Can we help in any way? And the street sweeper looked up and said, 5 years. 5 years. And he told her the problem. And she said, I've heard stories about this jeweler, this scoundrel of a jeweler. She said, maybe there's something I can do. She said, yes, tomorrow, you come back here and sweep in front of his shop. And when you see me, go in, you wait 10 minutes, then you come in and ask for your money. But say nothing about what happened today. Just come in and ask for your money and hope my plan works. So what she did, she went home, gathered all of her fancy jewels, and put them in her jewelry box. Next morning, she goes back with her box, walks into the jewelry shop. The man comes up. May I help you? Yes, I'm new in town. My family is new here, and we don't know anyone here. And my husband left on business, and he wants me to join him now. He's going to stay longer than he thought, and he never left instructions on what to do with my jewels. If I take them with me, they might be robbed or stolen. If I leave them at home, they might be stolen there too. And I just came for your advice. I mean, your reputation precedes you. He said, you know a lot about good jewels and you know what to do, so I came to ask you. He said, oh, yes. When just then, the street sweeper walked in. Good morning, I came to get my money. I've been working 5 years now. I think I have enough to go home. And I came to get my money, please. And the jeweler tried to grind his teeth a little bit. He saw the woman looking at him. All right, I will get your money. And he went in the back and got his safe and got the man's money and brought it out. And the street sweeper counted every bit. Thank you so much. And he left, quick. And then he looked at the woman and he said, you see, people come here all the time asking me to keep their money for safekeeping. And she said, I knew I came to the right place, yes. She said, I knew it. And she said, I think, and just as she said, I think, her maid came running in. Ma'am, things have changed. Your husband is coming home today. He's not staying. He'll be home this afternoon. Oh, she said, what good news. And she said to the jeweler, thank you so much for offering to keep my jewels. Thank you so much. She grabbed the box and left. She left the jeweler grinding his teeth. The next day, this woman invited her friends, all of her friends, and the street sweeper to her home for lunch. And while there, she told her story to all her friends about what this jeweler did to this poor man. And they could not understand why he would do that. Of course, they spread the story around. The whole town knew about what this jeweler had done. And pretty soon, there was a sign on his door, closed. And the more the story went around, nobody wanted to do business with a man who would steal from the poorest of the poor. And soon there was a sign on his door that said, out of business. He was gone. They say we make a living by what we get, right? Make a life by what we give. And those who know that enough is enough will always have enough. Mama always said that. Those who have enough will always know that enough is enough. The street sweeper. A story for you.
You're listening to Diane Follett at the Sandbar Storytelling event on Art Beat, right here on 89.5 KQAL.
Do you love podcasts but crave local content? Well, now you can keep it local with KQAL Podcasts on KQAL.org. Hear interviews with Minnesota bands, artists, chefs, comedians, historians, community leaders, and more. KQAL Podcasts, keeping it local on KQAL.org.
Also listen to KQAL on Spotify, Apple, Google, or anywhere you get your podcasts.
Well, I ain't going no higher. I ain't going down.
You're listening to Diane Follett at the Sandbar Storytelling event on Art Beat, right here on 89.5 KQAL.
Tell a story when you can.
Gotta learn.
Yeah,
Gotta know the isms
because
of
when
it.
you talk to your friends, man, you wouldn't believe this, man. I saw this girl walk in, she was fine. I mean, she walked in, and I tried to talk to her, and she turned her head. I mean, what's up with that? You know stories.
That's true, but you gotta have the razzle dazzle and the know-how to how to tell them.
But you have to, I think the know-how is you feel more comfortable with your friends, so your know-how is there.
Right.
But when you get in front of a big audience with different people, that's different. But with your friends, you feel more relaxed in telling what happened.
Exactly. So that's the know-how.
That's the know-how.
And then it's the real know-how
When
once
you get into
an
everybody.
entire
Yeah,
audience.
exactly.
And you got other people like listening in on it. So that changes.
And you
the
can't
whole-
tell everything to everybody.
Exactly. You got to know what points to tell and how to tell it.
Exactly.
So
You
that's
can't tell
the
every
professionalism of it.
Exactly. You got it. So you know. See.
A little bit. I mean, but
everything's a story. It's all a matter of what points you gotta hit.
Right.
And you just gotta relax and
Yeah.
speak like you're speaking to your friends.
Right. Yeah.
It was especially something I needed because this morning one of my family members passed away. So
this morning?
it's an art. What got you into? I'm sorry for your loss. But
Okay.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
Anyways, I wanted to ask, what got you into the storytelling?
Well, I never thought about storytelling, but I grew up hearing a lot of stories. Because I told you I'm old, and I grew up at a time when there was no Game Boy, was no TV. And I was born in New Orleans, and everybody down south had a front porch. Everybody would stop by. You can't have nobody walk by your porch and not say anything. They would say, hey, and only coming back, hey, coming or going. They always got to speak. Always somebody stopping on the porch talking, telling family stories, what happened at the grocery store that day, or what happened at the family, whatever, who died. And see the funeral going by. I didn't know anybody died. And you hear the story about that. How did they die? What happened? Always talking. That's how I grew up. Mm-hmm. When you grew up around words and just people talking, but I never heard anybody say, I'm going to tell you a story, or the word storytelling. I never heard that. But it came, and my father was the main one, because always it's somebody in your family that's the best.
Right.
And let me tell you, no, don't you tell it, let him tell it. Why do you want him to tell it? Because he tell it so good. Some people are better at it. My father was better at it.
It's an art.
Yeah, he knew folklore too. And so, but I never thought about storytelling until I adopted some children. And my daughter was 6 weeks old when I got her, no problem. Got my son about a year and so later. He was 3.5. Now you know a kid that old comes with stories. And one story was, he was a TV addict. The foster mother had other kids too. She put them all in front of the TV all day. So he comes to my house, I'm trying to read bedtime stories. My daughter was used to it. Read this story. He's like, I want to watch TV. What kind of kid is this? And I kept reading. I finally realized I was reading to a TV brain. Now, how do you get a TV brain to listen? I was reading that book and I changed what I was doing because it wasn't working. If there was a dog in the book I was reading, I would bark. If there was an old woman, well, come on in, honey. She opened the door. Come on in, I'll make you supper. If there was a witch, I become the witch. You go, whoa, maybe I better listen. You know, I did all that to make the story come alive. And I kept doing that. Then I took him to the library. My mother-in-law has a story for me to tell. Many, many years ago, my ancestors, they came from Africa. They didn't come from Europe. No. They didn't come from Asia. They didn't come from New Zealand, Australia. My ancestors came from
Africa. But my mother-in-law, her ancestors came from England. And when she found out I was gonna marry her son, she got sick and couldn't come to the wedding. But her son told her, Mom, this is who I love. You missed the wedding, it's your loss. Well, she didn't come. And the relationship between a mother and a son began to change. She didn't call her son anymore, didn't go visit her son anymore. But her son would call his mother once or twice a week to see how she was doing. And that went on for about a year or so. Then he went to visit his mom without me to see how she was doing. And that went on for a little over a year. Then my husband and I decided to adopt a little baby girl, 6 weeks old. And he went to visit his mom again. This time, he brought me with the baby. And when I got to her house, she was nice, very nice. She opened the door. That was a start. I walked in. I sat on the couch. She sat way across the room. And there was no conversation, just questions. See, my mother-in-law didn't know anything about black people. Nothing. All she knew about black people is what she saw on TV. Now you know that's not accurate. And back then, it was power to the people and all political prisoners, the Black Panther Party. That's not me, that's not my family. But she knew nothing about black people. But after another visit, she kind of warmed up a little bit. She was holding the baby. And she said, isn't she cute? She's so sweet. And when I saw her holding that child, I saw the warmth come over her face, the sparkle in her eyes. Things were warming up. Pretty soon, there were no questions. We started talking, eye to eye, heart to heart. And when that happens, what do you think happened to the wall between us? Slowly began to come down. And pretty soon, I'm at her house playing the piano. She's trying to sing. I'm helping her in the kitchen, you know. I mean, the visits were getting better and better. And one time after a pretty good visit, I was leaving her house, and my mother-in-law tried to give me a half a hug. You know, like this, you know. It was better than no hug. And then about a year or so later, my husband and I adopted a boy. Oh boy. He was 3.5 years old. And she just loved it when she met him. Oh, she would just, you know, singing songs to him, playing little games, my little toys, you know. I mean, I was playing the piano and she was trying to sing and bring him to the park, playing. It was so wonderful. The visits got better and better. And one time I'm leaving her house, she tried to give me a whole hug. I went, whoa. Could she like me? Oh, she couldn't love me. I'm gonna test her. So I invited my mother-in-law to Thanksgiving dinner. And what do you think she did? She came! She came! And despite saying I invited my mama and daddy, who had never met her before in life. And when my daddy walked in my house and he saw her, and he found out her name was Lorraine, he walked up to her and began to sing the whole song by Nat King Cole. My sweet Lorraine, Lorraine, She loved my daddy. But she missed all those years knowing him. Anybody like my daddy who took time to get to know him. You have to get to know people. And then I saw my mother-in-law and my mother talking at the dining room table about their early childhoods. Like my mother, the day she was born was the day her mother died. Not a good start, is it? Not a good start. Cinderella ain't seen nothing compared to my mother's life. And my mother-in-law, her family came here to America with nothing. They had hard times. Then they both realized, they said, wait a minute. We had hard times, but we survived. We're still here. My mother-in-law was realizing life was too short to miss out on family and love and good eating on holidays. Because no offense to anybody in here who's English, no offense. But my mother-in-law couldn't cook. Just throw things in a pot and boil it. No flavor, no seasoning. She loved my daddy's cornbread dressing. She loved those greens and those candied yams. I mean, she loved that baked chicken with that long gravy. I mean, she was eating like it was the last supper. And I tell this story to say this. We have to be very careful how we treat people. Because you never know what the end is going to be. Because when my mother-in-law was on her deathbed in the hospital, guess who was all around her bed? Black folk! Me, my mother, my father, my brother, my 2 children, and her husband and son. Do you know who put lotion on her dry legs and feet? My mother. You know who rubbed her back as her back was hurting her so and fluffed her pillow? My mother. We have to be very careful how we treat each other, because you never know what the end is going to be. And who might have to give you a cool drink of water or rub your brow. My mother-in-law, she had her faults, like we all do, right? But she must have done something right to raise a son like she did. Because my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease. Guess who retired from his job 2 years earlier to take care of my mother? Her son, my husband, who I've been married to for 51 years. She did something right. A closed mind is a wonderful thing to lose. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. True story. We all got them.
Thanks again to Diane Follett for the great stories and inspiring kind spoken words on today's Art Beat Sandbar Storytelling at St. Mary's University in Minnesota. Be sure to look Diane up on www.dianeforlot.com. For more conversations on art, tune in to Art Beat Tuesdays at 12:30 right here on 89.5 KQAL. I'm Vince Herring, and we've just heard some amazing heartfelt stories from the great storyteller herself, Diane Follett. Join us next Tuesday at 12:30 on Art Beat for Part 2 with Diane Follett. Thank you.
Artbeat is written and produced by KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us on the web at kqal.org.